Right, welcome back to another episode of the Dope Stroke Podcast Show. There's just two of us today.
Hang
Myself-
on. I'm not letting you intro it like
Interrupted. I always get interrupted. What is the
I'm-
scoop with this?
The intro to this podcast is Happy birthday to you. It is your birthday today, mate. That has got to be where we start this podcast. How old are you today, mate?
30.
30.
Well, I was saying to the team upstairs earlier today that I think that this is the halfway point for me. So I'm 45 years old today. I reckon I'm going to make it to 90. That's the target at the moment. You know, I'm basically going to try and shoot my age. So 90 seems appropriate. And this is it. This is halfway to death.
Amazing. I will never ever, well, I don't think I'll ever forget your birthday, because your birthday is the same as my wife's birthday. And
That's right.
not only the same date, the same year. So literally the same day in time that you were born, my wife was born. So
Look at
happy
the
birthday, mate.
The two biggest influences on your life, all born on the same day. How about that?
No, yeah. I know. How did your morning look? Did your kids come in and bring you a card and breakfast in bed? Was it all that, or was it kind of a morning school run carnage like normal?
Well, I would say it was a tough morning, purely on the basis that my son decided to have a meltdown from the moment his eyelids opened. And I'm pretty certain that the houses in the neighboring towns could hear him telling the world how much he hates me and how much he doesn't want to get into his PE kit, how much his trousers are too itchy, how much he doesn't want to have his breakfast because he wanted to have it earlier. Oh my God, it was a tough morning. But nonetheless, they still gave me some little presents to open this morning somehow. And then we've got a bit more of a teaser coming tonight. So I'm sure there'll be some cake and hopefully a couple of beers to boot, and we should be golden. That's my birthday.
I was setting up for this podcast in my office, as I always do. Internet was just not playing ball today. I used like a Wi-Fi extender. That wasn't working. So I'm in the house. I'm in the office in the house. And my wife has just pulled up with my kids coming back from school. So in about 10 seconds, you're going to hear my kids screaming the house down and moaning and crying. So I will, you might see me just mute myself momentarily. That's because there's carnage going on. So I've told,
well, at least I'll be able to say happy birthday to your lovely wife. And I hope you treated her special. Did you get her something nice?
I did actually. Yeah, I got her something nice. I actually got her. I was away last week, and it wasn't a surprise. So she kind of, suggested I buy her something, so I did. It got delivered last Monday, and I told her she's not opening it, and she was like, "I'm 45, I can open it." I was like, "No." I was like, "You have to wait until your birthday." So it sat there in the kitchen all week, and she kept looking at the box. I wouldn't let her open it, and then she got to open it today. So,
oh, that's good. Was it worth the wait?
Well, I mean, she thinks it wasn't anything I would quite use, but she was
not something you'd wear.
Well, no. It was a handbag. Girls love a handbag, don't they? So I got some brownie points, I think, for that.
Oh, well done, mate. Well done. Good for her and good for you.
Yeah.
And actually, staying on the topic of women, today's topic is going to be about the LPGA. And I think that's going to be a good conversation to go in. Basically, narrowing down a new deal that's been brokered, which is a multi-year broadcast partnership deal with FM Global. This is the LPGA we're talking about. So I think it's a really nice segue to start talking a little bit about women's golf, where that's heading, what the future is going to be like for women's golf, and how that has an opportunity and a benefit to potential corporate sponsors, what it means for driving more girls into the game. I think there's a few key touch points to go over, but I think the first thing to talk about, multi-year deal, a couple of headline bits here to start out with. They're expecting 50% more cameras compared to 2025, slow motion cameras, drone coverage, and triple the amount of microphones. The big key takeaway here, this is related to Craig Kessler, who is the new commissioner of the tour. The purpose of doing this is to raise visibility, enhance storytelling, and accelerate the elevation of the women's game. Do you think, Young Bubbles, that this is a step in the right direction for women's golf, in particular professional women's golf, that this deal has actually been struck?
I think it can only be good. I will be honest, I didn't know huge amounts about this deal that was broken until we spoke a moment ago. But the kind of headlines that you've read out to me, it's good. Um, I think I saw something over the weekend that the DP World Tour announced that they had um, increased viewership for the end of season run into the DP World Tour. So more viewers, more engagement on social, more viewers on the course. So I think it shows that there's an appetite there for high level golf
Mhm.
in terms of viewership and people engaging with it. So I think if the LPGA Tour can kind of leverage that, and obviously, when you're looking at bringing eyeballs in, it does need to be more than just a tournament. It needs to be, people, viewers, finding out the personalities of the players, finding out, enjoying the content that's through socials, and actually getting a bit more of a connection to the tour. I do worry that, and this isn't just the LPGA Tour, this is every tour, that the viewership will increase on the big events. But as with any tour, the weaker events, I struggle to see how they're really going to pull viewers in. But that's across PGA Tour,
Mhm.
DP World Tour. But I think it can only be good because if it can raise the profile of the tour, the tournaments, the players, the sponsors, then I think it can only be good because it's a growing sport, and this is just, I guess, going to be another step in that journey to growing it even further.
I definitely, yeah, it's hard to argue with a lot of those points. I think one of the things to caveat related to the DP World Tour is that their comparative data is of a pretty low base. So it's almost slightly easy for them to get an inflated number. Basically, get Rory to play, and you got half a chance of improving your data from the previous year if Rory didn't play last year, for example.
Yeah.
So there are those elements that I would certainly caveat that against. But in terms of the LPGA, if you look at, say, women's football or soccer. Actually, before I continue on that, do you know why it's called soccer? Did I tell you this?
Uh, I don't know. Well, it's because they already have football, don't they?
Exactly. And you had American football, and actually, our football used to be called association football, and association was abbreviated to soccer. So they never really then continued to say the word football; it just became known as soccer. So it is a US word. Well, that's where it kind of originated from, and that's expanded globally. So, like in South Africa, we would call it soccer. We wouldn't call
Right.
it football, but it is football. Just to clear that up for everyone else around the world who thinks it's soccer, it's football. Anyway, I digress slightly, but talking about the women's game, as soon as, and I'm relating this to UK broadcasting and Sky Sports and some of the other broadcast channels, as soon as they started to showcase and broadcast women's football matches, participation from girls increased. That's just that's just the mathematics. And I think if there's more women's golf being broadcast on TV, more girls will start to play golf. What does that mean for the future? It means more depth in talent, more top players, more players that might even be able to contend more in some of the men's events. We've seen that with darts, um, and I think you can see that growing in other sports potentially as well. It'll always be a little bit difficult from a golf perspective because it is related to power is a big part of the game now. It's not quite, I mean, it's still very skillful. I don't want to take away from that. But the way that the courses have to be designed is to cater for the men's stupidly long distances off the tee. Whereas even the longest women, as skillful as they are, and they are super skillful, it's hard for them to compete on golf courses that are another 800 yards longer than what they would traditionally play. So it's quite a big difference. But nonetheless, what I like about it, there's two parts. One, it's a different way of showing golf. It's not the men's game where they spin it the back of the green and spin it all the way down to the front. It's a different type of skill that we're going to see from the women's game. I like that a lot. It's like watching a 50-50 over cricket match versus test cricket, two different forms of the game, but both in that sense cricket, in our world both golf. I like that. I actually think that women's golf is a sleeping giant when it comes to sponsorships. And I think because of this deal, better storytelling will take place from the players. We're going to get more insight from the tour, the players, the caddies, everything else associated with that. And I think you're going to see more big player corporates come into that space, start buying the rights and benefits in that space. and start leveraging those players to tell their stories on their own brand messaging. So I think if you are 5 years away from securing your LPGA Tour card right now, you're in for a very profitable career as that starts to unfold. It's going to be a very exciting time for female professional golf, without question, for me.
Yeah. I think it can only be a good thing. I mean, I don't know, and nobody does. We don't know really how, social media and that landscape is going to play out over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Because I don't know about you, I'm assuming you're the same. If I go onto, Instagram, Facebook, it's starting to get filled with content which is AI produced, which you can't trust. So you're starting to look through feeds now and you're starting to go, well, this is a bit pointless really because it's all fabricated, it's all created. So if that continues, there's going to be, a desire for live sport, because obviously that is live and you know what you're getting with that. So I think, we don't know how social media is going to go. We don't know what that looks like in the next couple of years, but I think what we are going to find out as AI and the way that it produces content changes, I think there will be a shift towards people wanting to watch kind of live sport. And when I think about, you were mentioning there the ladies' game being slightly different, and it is slightly different, obviously different players, the distances are generally a little bit shorter. They don't hit it as far. But I think of the golf tournaments that I watch and I get excited for, and I think, why am I excited for those events? Well, number one, they mean something. So it's a major, it's the players, it's the DP final event. It's something that's got a meaningful end to it. Well, the LPGA can provide that. They've got majors, they've got big events. Then I'll watch it because it's a close event. It's a tightly packed leaderboard. Again, LPGA can deliver that. I'll watch golf because I know some of the players. I feel like I know their personalities. LPGA can deliver that. So if I'm watching, let's say it's the players, and I'm watching it because it's a big tournament, because it's a tight leaderboard, it's coming down to Sunday. Let's say you've got Colin Morikawa, who's got 140 yards into the last hole. It makes no difference to me whether he's hitting a pitching wedge, a 7-iron, a 3-wood, a driver. It makes no difference to the enjoyment of that tournament. It's about, where's he going to hit it? Is he going to get it over the line? Is it going to be drama-filled? Is he going to get to claim that trophy? So all the things that I think draw me into a tournament, the LPGA can deliver that. Yes, they don't hit it quite as far, but that doesn't impact my enjoyment on a tournament at all. So I think if we can start to see more coverage, we can start to get more behind the scenes, we can start to, as a whole, get to learn more about the players and what they're like and their personalities, and we start to learn more about the big tournaments, then there's no reason why, as a population around the world, we can't enjoy and watch the LPGA Tour as much as the PGA Tour. The only thing I would say is that obviously recently we've had a new tour emerge. So if the LPGA Tour does start to increase its coverage, it starts to become, more prevalent on the TV, you've still got the fact that you're battling against other tours, PGA Tour, Live Tour, DP World Tour, now LPGA Tour. So although the coverage might be better, it may well be that there are some tournaments which are televised, which are still trying to compete against big events in the men's game around the world. And that's not going to change.
No, and I think one of the great challenges that the professional golf industry is facing now is that you're not just competing against other golf tournaments. You're competing against football, American football. You're competing against baseball, NASCAR, Formula One. Every sport is trying to get your attention at the end of the day. Now, a lot of people are fans of multi-sport. I'm a fan of Formula One. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Liverpool Football Club, and we are shocking at the moment, but let's not go there. So, I enjoy other sports, but equally, if there's a Liverpool game on the TV versus a professional golf tournament, I'll probably watch the football and then go back to the golf. I will interrupt my viewing of that golf experience to watch something else. So I think how they do the storytelling, how they're able to narrate all of that will be the key. But I do like the fact that there are some personalities in the women's game. Like Charlie Hull, she's kind of like the hybrid of a Nick Kyrgios and an Arnold Palmer, right? She's kind of like got this unusual story that could be told around her. That's kind of exciting. People are interested. Then you've got Lottie Woad, who she's actually managed by Paul McDonald. and I think it's great to see Lottie Woad really come to the fray in the way that she has. She's definitely set the female world alight, which is fantastic. And I just think that there's a lot more to tell. Nelly Corder, everything that she's been able to do for the game. I just think it's such a great time to put a lot of these people's personality front and center to make some good stories. The challenge that they're going to have, other sports, obviously, live golf's been a massive disruptor. The attention is still fragmented. And I just wonder how much appetite there actually is from the fan base to watch a new medium of golf, which means it's going to be all about the storytelling. And actually, to be fair to the new commissioner, he's made storytelling a priority. So he obviously recognizes that part. Because if you're a brand and you're being asked to invest $2, $3, $4, $5 million into something, you need to have some form of an ROI on that. You need to have something that you can hang your hat on. And just sponsoring a tournament for a few logos here and there, it doesn't cut it. It just does not cut it. You need more as a sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm, I work in this industry. I've done for years, but below all of that, or what underpins all of that, is I'm a golf fan. Always have been. Since the age of about 13, I'm a golf fan, and I don't play and watch as much as I maybe did when I was 18, 19, 20, but I still kind of engage in a lot of golf. And I don't know whether I am the target market, but when I look at live, I couldn't tell you how many teams there are. I think there's 12, 13 maybe. I think there's 13. I couldn't name those 13. And I haven't watched a live golf tournament, really, from start to finish. I've seen highlights through socials. So when I look at what the LPGA are doing, and obviously they've got some backing, which is great, but when I look at my experience of live over the last few years, it kind of shows me that just throwing money at it isn't enough. Because, live have got bundles of money behind them, but that hasn't captured my attention. So it's got to be done in a smart way. They've got to, and I'm sure they are doing this, but it's not just a case of throw money at it and people will watch, because it's got to be more than that. And live has proven that. Now, there will be some people out there who do watch live and they'll say, well, it has worked because they've captured my attention. I'd prefer to watch that, whether it's because it was on YouTube, whether it's because they're from Australia and they follow the Stingers, is it? So there might be some people around the world who it has worked for, but I think it just proves, or just shows to me that, when you've got a tour like the LPGA, throwing money at it isn't enough to make it a success. They've got to do it in the right way, whether it's like you saying how they cover it with slow motion, with drone shots, whether they do it a little bit differently. You're interested to see what they do actually kind of put in place and the measures that they put in place. When's this active from? Is this from next year?
Yeah, 26. Yeah, that's when it's going to roll out.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting. I think I kind of want to touch on that. I want to go back slightly. So those team names, I'm going to give this a quick crack. So there's 13 teams because Legion, which is John Rahm's team, the team is called Legion 13, and they were the 13th team. So at least we got that one dialed in. Stinger GC is the South African team.
It's the Lixie Tour as well, so we got that wrong.
Lixie Tour, yeah, Lixie Tour. You got Ripper GC, that's the Australian team.
Yeah.
Iron Heads, that's Kevin Na. Yeah. Crushers, DeChambeau. Range Goats is Bubba Watson.
Yeah.
Team Torquay, so that's Neiman.
Yeah.
Which means I want to say Rocket Balls, but it's not that. It is Fireballs. That's Sergio.
Yeah.
To 8. I'm starting to lose it a little bit now. Oh, another one. Smash GC. Cleeks 10.
Yeah. Majestics.
Yeah.
And
yeah, Majestics. 4 aces. Yeah, DJ's team.
So that's one left, I think.
What is the other? There's definitely one other. I can't remember, but I think that's a pretty damn good effort, if you ask me.
Yeah, that is good. I wouldn't have got those.
So that begs the question, though.
Sorry?
Go on. No, go on. Go on. See what you're going to say.
As if I looked at a list of the teams, I would say, yes, I know all those teams, as in I've recognised the names, but I probably would struggle to list them, and I would struggle to put a name to them. If you said Cliques, I'd go, yeah, I've heard of the Cliques, but I wouldn't know, who's in it. So, I think obviously the LPGA Tour, like the DP and the PGA Tour, there's going to be 100 odd players on there. and I keep saying this on multiple podcasts, but for me, I need 10 to 12 players that I kind of really like watching. I like their personality. I like watching their style of play. And then if you get a tournament with all those 12 playing and they get towards the top of the leaderboard, then you've got yourself a recipe for me at least engaging in it and trying to sort of, follow the leaderboard and watch a bit on socials and at least kind of follow who's winning.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's interesting. I wonder if, so where Live Golf is, if they brought out a women's league, if that would be good or bad for the ladies' game, given what the LPGA are imminently just about to do. That'd be an interesting point to discover, wouldn't it?
I tell you what, I think would be better in terms of almost like off the back of this. Is it investment or is it just partnership?
This is a broadcast deal. So basically, it's a multi-year broadcast partnership with FM Global. So what I've got here is that FM Global is stepping up as an official partner of the LPGA Tour and not just a title sponsor of one event.
So I think what would be good, and it's probably not going to happen, but if they could do this in association with the Netflix style documentary, I think that would be great, because that obviously shows some golf, but it shows a bit more about the people off course. You get to see them, their families, what they're like. And, in golf, I don't think it quite works for us because we're already in golf, but I know for Formula One, it really worked. There was a lot of people who weren't really Formula One fans who watched that, suddenly started to know more about the teams and the principals and the drivers, and it kind of got them engaged. So, for some people who maybe dip in and out of ladies golf and maybe couldn't list more than 2 or 3 players, something like that, I think could be a great almost catalyst to sort of say, okay, now I know 15, 20 of the players. Now we've got this better broadcast deal. That'd be a great, I mean, that's probably not going to happen because I've not heard it's going to happen, but that would be almost something which I think would be a good way to sort of not relaunch it, but give it a bit of a boost.
Yeah, because I think but that almost tells me that you do need to have smaller fields a little bit so that you can talk about it in that way. It's almost like you do need a 2-tier tour. So you've got like a tier 1 set of events and tier 2 set of events. But if you're a title sponsor of a tier 1 event, that you automatically have to invest in the second tier as well. But then all of your storytelling happens at the tier 1. So maybe you have the top 40 players that play a full schedule over the course of the year. I'm using 40 as a number, could be a lot more than that, especially when you think about minimum dynamics for world ranking points, etc. Which is usually, I think it's 76 players average field size, what you need for world ranking points. Now, granted, I'm basing that on the men's game. Women's game might well be a little bit different on that, but the average field size is quite important for judging those rankings. But it's easier to tell a story if you've got a smaller group to talk about. It's a bit like when you watch those football documentaries, Inside Sunderland or whatever it is. It's only that team that you see, so you get to build the personalities. Whereas when you've got field size of 156 golfers, who do you pick? It's not that easy. And you kind of need to be consistent season after season a little bit to be able to tell a more meaningful story. So I don't know like you said, it's fragmented when it comes to golf because there's just so many players.
Yeah, I think when it comes to golf, the storylines that get me kind of excited almost is who's going to win, basically, who's winning the tournament. But then I do like the rookies. I do like it when you get a new name that comes through and they kind of burst onto the tour and they maybe get a top 5 early on and you think this could be a next big player. So you get the new names coming through. And then towards the end of that season, you've got, the kind of relegation or the drop zone or the losing your card. And I think those storylines are good to follow. There's obviously quite a few recently on DP where people are finishing with 3 straight birdies to keep their card and, holding putts and missing putts. I think those storylines are really good, but obviously they are more condensed just to the last few events. But I think if you've got a group of players at the top that you're interested in, and then you can have these storylines of the rookies coming through and the people potentially losing their card, then I think you've got enough there. And like you say, probably 76, that's a good number, I think, really, to start to be able to sort of, because I think if you go more than 76, you get the sort of 15, 20 at the top, you get the 10 or 15 that are potentially losing the card. You don't need those ones in the middle. If you've got 140 playing each week, you've got kind of 100 players that are in sort of no man's land. No one's really interested in them, which is harsh to say, but it's kind of reality.
It is reality. Like if you look at European Tour wise, you have Q School, which happens every November. When you get to the final stage of Q School, it's normally played the same week as DP World Championships at Jumeirah Golf Estates. There's more European Tour winners competing at Q School than there are at the DP World Championship. Yet
Really?
Q School Finals is never televised. I would love to see that tournament televised, first and foremost. The other one is, and I'm echoing your point a little bit, the storyline to go with is to go, right, these 10 players got their tour card through Q School. Let's document their whole journey for the following season. So you get to see them hustle at a Q School where they actually go on to be successful that week, and then find out how hard it is the following season. Because one of the main barriers for these golfers, it's getting into the tournaments. That's the problem. It's not actually, they're not any weaker of a player. Well, I mean, obviously they're new onto the tour, so they've got to learn the golf courses, and there's all of those types of things that occur. But if you could just document their journey where even they're missing out on a tournament, they're going to say, "Oh, my ranking wasn't high enough to get into the tournament." Like that's news and information that the public might not be aware of. And I think the ladies tour lends itself quite good to tell that story as well, because it's difficult because there's not that many tournaments on the ladies European circuit, but there is on the LPGA circuit. So I just think that there's quite a lot of narratives that could be discussed, but you have to pick one and tell that one story really well. Then add to that, to the following season, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a discussion that we can have on another podcast, because I think there's and you're probably going to be better placed to speak on this than me, but I reckon there's a bit of a, I guess, misunderstanding, because the information isn't widely out there, but a misunderstanding that if you go to Q School and you win Q School and you get your card, then the assumption is you can play all of the DP World Tour events the following year. And that could not be further from the truth, could it? I mean, you'd follow someone, wouldn't you, in November qualifying, they'd get their card, and they'd be like, right, well, we'll come with you to your first event. And you're like, okay, that's May. I'm not going to get in an event till May. I mean, I was speaking to a couple of years ago to a guy called Joe Dean. Same thing, got his card through Tour School. Actually, one of his early events, I think it was in South Africa, he had like a top 10, possibly a top 5, which is great. He was over the moon. And I saw him at an event in kind of Newcastle way, and he was telling me that he couldn't get into the next 4 events.
Yeah.
And it's
that's
crazy.
the challenge.
You think you've got your card, you can just pick and choose your schedule. It's so hard, isn't it?
It's brutal. It's really difficult. The best way to describe it, which I've explained to others, is that when you get your card through Q School, in the real world, that means that you've just got, a company has offered you a job. You've now got the job. But you've also got a 12-month probation period coming. So you've got to make sure that you perform well in that probation period to make sure that you've got longevity in that company. And it's the same thing, I think, with this golf side, like with the tour side. You've got your card through Q School. You are going to get a number of events, and you need to play damn well in those events to make sure that you get category 10 the following season, which grants you rights for all of the events. That's the thing. I actually feel like if you get your card, you should be allowed to play every event.
Yeah.
There's 2 downsides. The average field size is 156 most of the time, and that usually goes down the rankings. So if all of the players in category 10 and above want to enter that tournament, there'll be no Q School players playing that week. But then also, when you go to places like Abu Dhabi, as a prime example, the field sizes are smaller. They drop down to maybe 126 or 132. But that's purely because of daylight hours. There's not enough daylight. So that's a problem in itself as well. And that affects who can and cannot get into the event. So it's difficult. And you're right, it's a whole other podcast. It's not as straightforward as people think. I always see it every year when those guys get off the 18th green at Q School and they're chest bumping. And I'm like, dude, you've got a long way to go here. Like, well done. Celebrate your win here, but let's not forget that you've got a tough 12 months ahead.
Well, we need to wrap this up shortly, mate, because I've got to shoot off. But before we do, I just want to say a quick, well, I guess you can call it a shout out, because I was at a course last week doing some filming, and they haven't asked me to do this. It's not contractual, but it was a great course and they were really helpful to me. So I just want to give them a shout out. So it was called Al Zora. I'm guessing you haven't been there because it's, so I flew into Dubai, but it's in a different emirate. It's in Ajman, which is probably, only took me 25 minutes from the airport, but it's kind of northeast. But it's an amazing course. amazing. They've it's been there a few years, but this year in January they opened the clubhouse, which is, as you can imagine, in UAE, it's pretty impressive. They've got swimming pool, gym, but it's got a bit of a different vibe because it's a good 20 minutes outside of Dubai. It's a little bit quieter, a little bit more chilled. It's got a different vibe to it. But they were great to me. I was out there for a few days and they pretty much gave me access to the course. Austin was great, Charlene was great, and yeah, it was an amazing course. It's a tidal course, so it's kind of built. They've got these tee boxes that are all through the mangroves, and as the tide comes in, the water comes up, and then as it goes out, so it's really amazing. So if anyone is heading out to the UAE, maybe you're in Dubai, you obviously play courses around Dubai. You got the Emirates and Jumeirah Golf Estates, but half hour outside Al Zora, pretty special. So they were great.
Well, I saw your footage on Instagram as well, and to be fair, it almost looked like a painting every time you're on the golf course. It looked amazing. Condition looked great. So if you're vouching for it, it must be legit. So,
but you know what's so frustrating, mate? All these opportunities I get to go. This was through Azalea, so I should say thanks to them as well. I flew on the Monday, came back on the Friday, so I was there for basically 5 days. Didn't play the course at all.
What?
just working. So I'm like, I'll find a little gap on the course, set the cameras up, film some content for YouTube, my app, find a different location, set the cameras up, film a video. I think I played 3 holes, and that's about it. I get to see the course because I'm driving around it, but I mean, I couldn't tell you whether it's long, whether it's short, whether it's easy, whether it's hard. I couldn't tell you, but I could see it was pretty special. So
I think what we should do, though, as we're wrapping this up, we should do like a little dope stroke video element where we have to go and play golf. The 3 of us go and play. And we actually, attempt to make some birdies and figure out if we can remember how to do it. And I think that would be interesting content in itself to basically document our journey around a golf course, which we sometimes feel like we barely play.
I think that'd be awesome. If we'd pick a topic, do a podcast, but playing golf at the same time.
Let's do it. Well, I'm back in Cali in March, so book yourself a flight, mate. See you there.
Okay. All right. If you can send that as an email to me, like it's a works trip, so I can show the wife. And I've got to go. It's not my choice.
I know. What you should do. This is a great birthday present for her. As we make this a nice little close for you. Why don't you just get a little voucher thing made up, put it in an envelope, and say, "Oh yeah, we're giving your lovely wife a week off from her lovely husband because the husband is going to go and play golf in California, but you get to spend the whole time just yourself and the kids." Brilliant.
Yeah,
I'm sure that'll go down well. Yeah,
I like it. We'll try that.
Right. Well, that puts a close on today's podcast. Give that a listen, guys. Definitely looking forward to seeing how this unfolds with the LPGA. Once again, happy birthday to myself and the lovely Nikki Ryan as well. Happy birthday, and look forward to catching you guys next week.